From Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission begins upward review of salaries of political office holders. Information and Culture Minister accuses US of fake terror alarm. E-Naira transactions hits over 8 billion naira since inception last year. And on the foreign scene, delegates of the Ethiopian government and rival Tigray forces meet for talks in South Africa. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. The Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, RMAFC, has said it has concluded arrangements to start the process for the review of the remuneration for political, public and judicial office holders in the country. A statement from the RMAFC quoted the chairman of the commission, Mohammed Bello Shehu, as saying this during a courtesy visit to the chairman of Nigeria Governors Forum and governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, in his office in Abuja. Bello pointed out that the functions of the RMAFC in paragraph 32, subsection D, part 1, to the third schedule of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, empowers the Commission to determine the remuneration appropriate to political, public and judicial office holders in the country. He said the last time the review was carried out was in 2008, which makes it long overdue for another review. Governor Tambuwal congratulated Bello Shehu on his new appointment as the chairman of the commission, while pointing out that the commission is one of the constitutional bodies in the country that has been underfunded over the years, thereby making it difficult for it to function properly in monitoring all the revenue accruals into and from the Federation account. Former President Goodluck Jonathan has called on the National Assembly to consider a law mandating governorship and presidential aspirants to contest primaries as a pair in order to reduce friction between political principals and their deputies. He spoke on Tuesday in Abuja at a book launch in honor of Governor Abdullahi Ganduje. The former president noted that the frosty relationship between political principals and their deputies often results in them not nominating their deputies to take over from them. He therefore advocated the need for constitutionally defined roles for deputy governors and vice presidents in order to make their offices functional and relevant. Several positions were taken at the launch on improving the synergy between political principals and their deputies, with Vice President Yemi Osinbajo insisting that the onus was on the deputies to bring their skills and talent to the government as efficiently and effectively as they did to everyday affairs.
The need for a legal adjustment to assign clear responsibilities other than the ad hoc functions they perform at the BS of their bosses. Because when I became the deputy governor in 1999, there are some governors that give some ministries to their deputy governors to manage. So, but if you look at the Nigerian Constitution, the only role of a deputy governor is chairman of the State Boundary Commission. The State Boundary Committee. The vice president is the chairman of the National Boundary Commission. The deputy governor is the chairman of the State Boundary Committee. If a state has boundary problems with neighboring states, then there are clear responsibilities because you are the chairman of the State Boundary Committee. But where states don't have boundary problems, there is no clear role given to a deputy governor.
And to politics now, where the Peter Obi Presidential Campaign Organization has asked Nigerians to reject those who are planning to rule the country by proxy, saying that Nigerians can no longer tolerate turning governance into family and friends business. The Obi Detti campaign was reacting to the challenge thrown at the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi by the Minister of State for Labour, Festus Keyamo, for his son to organize a campaign rally in a state like Seyi Tinubu, APC flag bearer's son, did for his father in Lagos. The LP campaign said the only thing that joins Obi and Tinubu is that they were once governors of states in Nigeria, noting that after that, one became a parasite to the state government he served with his entire family, while the other left government house with him and any members of his family not collecting a dime in his state. The campaign, in a statement in Abuja, said unlike Tinubu and his household, who have grown to be stupendously wealthy with no identifiable industry or means of making money outside the state government for over 2 decades, Obi is not like that, the campaign team said. If Keyamo had taken time to study the family he speaks for very well, he would have avoided the comparison that is bound to expose the parasitic life of his principal and understand why the entire household is headlong in the campaign. Meanwhile, members of the All Progressive Congress in Osun State on Tuesday walked over 10 kilometers in Osogbo to rally support for the presidential candidate of the party, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, and his running mate, Senator Kashim Shettima. The state governor, Adegboyega Oyetola, who led the walk, said APC is still very strong in Osun State and will win the state in the presidential election. The chief press secretary to the governor, Ismail Omipidon, speaking exclusively with Trust TV, says APC remains the party to beat in Osun.
Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the candidate to beat anytime, any day. By the grace of Almighty God, Asiwaju will be the president of this country come 2023.
I'm sure if you see the crowd is enough evidence to show that as far as Osun is concerned, APC remains the party to beat. The high point of this work for Asiwaju and Kashim Shettima is the fact that Mr. Governor has further demonstrated his physical capacity to remain as a leader of the party in the state.
The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, on Tuesday visited Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital, to commiserate with the victims of the ravaging floods in the state. Atiku donated the sum of 55 million naira to the victims, saying the donation was his token to support the recovery process of those affected by the flood. He described the disaster as disheartening and lamented its effect on the lives and economy of the people of the state. Atiku called on the federal government and individuals and organizations to support Bayelsa, advocating the setting up of an independent flood disaster relief fund that will provide succor to the victims. He also suggested a temporary fund for farmers to ameliorate their losses and provide them with capital for next year's planting season, and urged the federal government to build the required infrastructure to contain excess waters to avert reoccurrence. He said if elected President of Nigeria, he would commit to completing a dam in Adamawa State and take other necessary measures to ensure that Nigeria does not suffer this magnitude of damage as a result of flooding. And still on the recent flood disaster, the Nigerian Air Force has commenced transporting relief materials to communities ravaged by flood in Bayelsa State. The relief materials were airlifted by the C-130 aircraft from Enugu to Port Harcourt and ferried to Egbogene in Bayelsa State using helicopters. In a statement by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Nigeria Air Force, Air Commodore Edward Gapquet, on Tuesday, the provision was to help the civil authority to alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians affected by the flood. This is not the first time the Nigeria Air Force would be providing aid in the form of airlifts to civil authorities. In March 2020, the Air Force airlifted medical materials donated by the Jack Ma Foundation, consisting of 107 boxes of medical supplies and equipment weighing over 1,360 kilograms. Also in April 2020, the Nigeria Air Force airlifted medical equipment and supplies donated by the Turkish government from Lagos to Abuja. Similarly, in March 2021, the Air Force airlifted COVID-19 medical relief materials donated by the Economic Community of West African States. Nigeria's government on Tuesday criticized the United States and UK embassies for releasing separate security advisories regarding a possible terror attack in Abuja. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, at the ongoing Global Media and Information Literacy Week holding in Abuja, described the advisories as fake terror alerts. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports.
Speaking at the Ministerial Panel on National Media and Information Literacy Framework, Lai Mohammed, while citing sources and enablers of disinformation, described the action of the two embassies and the wide media coverage accorded to it as inimical to the peace, stability and economy of the nation.
Suddenly, this same alert finds its way into the media, both new and traditional, thus creating panic in the polity. Yesterday, schools were shut, businesses were closed, travel plans were altered, lives were disrupted. No one cared to find out about the authenticity of these alerts.
Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Ibrahim Pantami, blamed the rising wave of disinformation globally on the unregulated new media, recommending self-regulation and societal reorientation to checkmate the spread.
Because of our societal orientation, most of our people, more than 90% today of our population, probably, whatever they see, if there is no any counter narrative, they will consume and agree with it. Even if you delay for 24 hours to counter, they will just take it like revelation.
Minister of Education Adamu Adamu, represented by the State Minister Goodluck Opia, told the audience that the ministry is considering introducing media literacy in schools to equip the younger generation with the necessary tools to detect disinformation.
That includes identifying the media component that should be taught in schools, in mainstreaming school curriculum, and then engaging the quality of teachers that can handle information and handle our young people in learning what kind of information they should be able to take.
The forum, moderated by the Deputy Director General, Information and Communication of UNESCO, Taufik Jalasi, featured virtual presentation from the United Kingdom, including a question and answer session. Shapir Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
President Muhammadu Buhari has given the Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, 90 days to develop a comprehensive plan of action for the prevention of flood disaster in Nigeria. The President's directive was conveyed to the Minister in a letter signed by his Chief of Staff, Ibrahim Gambari, according to a statement on Monday by Presidential spokesman Garba Shehu. According to the statement, Buhari ordered the Minister to coordinate with the Ministries of Environment and Transportation, as well as state governments, to develop the plan. Garba Shehu also said President Buhari is regularly receiving updates on the flood situation in the country and restates his commitment towards addressing the challenges caused by the disaster in the country. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, said about 2.5 million persons have been affected so far, and over 603 persons killed by the flooding caused by torrential rainfall in over 20 states across Nigeria. Thousands of houses have been submerged by floods and a large number of farmlands washed away in Nigeria's devastating floods, which have attracted international sympathies from King Charles III of the United Kingdom and also the United Nations. And now to matters of security, where the Ogun State Police Command has confirmed the alleged killing of two brothers by some men of the Nigerian Army for smuggling foreign rice into the country in Owode, Yewa South local government area of the state. The police public relations officer Abimbola Oyeyemi, who confirmed the killing, said the incident also led to a protest by youth in the area. The incident, which happened on Sunday, angered the youth of the area who blocked the Shango Idiroko International Road. The mob reportedly attacked an officer of the Nigeria Air Force, killing him in retaliation. It was gathered that the trouble started when officers accosted the elder brother in an attempt to seize his vehicle, which contained bags of foreign parboiled rice, where the two brothers were allegedly shot by officers, killing them instantly. According to eyewitnesses, the soldiers immediately fled the scene after shooting the siblings. The mob allegedly set bonfires on the Shango Idiroko International Road, affecting vehicular movement for hours. Speaking on the incident, the Ogun State Police Public Relations Officer Abimbola said that the slain Air Force officer was in uniform when he unknowingly ran into the mob who lynched him. While the situation has been brought under control, the public relations officer, however, said that the Commissioner of Police has directed the homicide section to take over the matter and unravel both the remote and immediate causes of the incident. A federal high court sitting in Port Harcourt has nullified all the primary elections conducted by the All Progressive Congress in Rivers State over unlawful exclusion of some members of the party as delegates to the primaries. One George Olu and 4 others had approached the court requesting that the primaries of the APC in the state be nullified following their alleged exclusion as delegates in the process. Justice E.A. Obile, in judgment, agreed with the plaintiffs that they were wrongly excluded in the election of delegates to participate in the party primaries. Justice Obile therefore ruled that all those elected from the primary is nullified and should not be recognized as candidates. You're watching Trust TV News Hour. Still ahead, preserving African culture and diplomatic ties. Details of this and more after the break. Stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Hour. Now let's recap our top stories. Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission begins upward review of salaries of political office holders. And Information and Culture Minister accuses US of fake terror alarm. And in other news, the National Population Commission is set to conduct a trial post-enumeration survey in Daura local government area of Katsina State. This is preparatory to the first fully digital population and housing census in April 2023. In Katsina, Abdullahi Yamadi reports that the post-enumeration survey is to be carried out to check the accuracy of the trial census conducted in July 2022. The report.
The post-enumeration survey will allow the Population Commission to understand and determine the number of people missed, counted twice, included by mistake, or counted in the wrong place. The trial post-enumeration survey is an integral part of the successful census in line with the United Nations principles and recommendations for population and housing census.
The Commission is placing premium importance on this exercise. As you know, a population census is the official enumeration of all persons in a country at a specific time. This encompasses the collection, compilation, evaluation, analysis, publication, and dissemination of demographic, social, and academic statistics relating to the population.
The Commission has constituted an independent team saddled with the responsibility of preparing and conducting post-enumeration survey. This is expected shortly after the conduct of the 2023 Digital Population and Housing Census in Nigeria.
The objectives of this trial post-enumeration survey are: 1. To measure coverage error due to either under-coverage or over-coverage of persons, in some cases households, units in trial census. 2. To determine content errors through measuring levels of agreement in responses to questions on selected characteristics such as sex, age, marital status, relationship to reference person or household. 3. To identify procedural and conceptual limitations in the census which needs the improvement in future censuses and large-scale surveys.
The trial post-enumeration survey will be carried out in November in the 127 enumeration areas in each one local government in one state of the 6 geopolitical zones. The NPC Federal Commissioner, Engineer Bala Almubanye, gives assurances that the Commission will conduct a credible census, the result of which can be used as a planning tool for national development. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
And the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has fixed November 11th, 2023 for the conduct of Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi governorship elections. National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee of INEC, Festus Okoye, said this on Tuesday evening. According to him, at its weekly meeting held on Tuesday, the Commission approved the timetable and schedule of activities for the Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states governorship elections. He said the decision is in fulfillment of the requirements of Section 28, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022, which mandates the Commission to publish the notice of election not later than 360 days before the fixed date for the election. Meanwhile, commuters were stranded at various bus stops in Lagos on Tuesday morning as fuel queues resurfaced in parts of Nigeria's economic nerve center. A visit to some parts of the state revealed long queues comprising private and commercial vehicles at filling stations. The queues spilled into main roads and took at least a lane as of 8 a.m. on Tuesday in areas like Agege, Alimosho, and Ikeja local government areas of the state. The queues appeared on Monday but worsened hours later as vehicle owners scramble for petrol.
It's not fair. I'm telling you, it's very, very unfair because everybody, like me now, is supposed to be at the office now. But now, I just came out to come and queue for the fuel. I didn't have fuel in the generator, even in the car. If you look at my car now, it's red already. So it's not fair. It's not like I will just get into the filling station and come out immediately. It's not good. Our government should look for something better to do for us. We can't continue like this.
Of course, I'm not happy because I'm obviously coming back from work now. I'm supposed to be at home, but I'm here, on the queue trying to get fuel. So I'll be able to go to work early tomorrow. Yeah, so I feel very, very sad, to be honest. Well, they should let fuel flow in circulation, to be honest, because if we had enough fuel, we'll probably not be here. So basically, maybe we should have more refineries, if you ask me, because if we have more refineries, we'll probably not be in this position that we're in right now.
The Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule has challenged journalists on abiding by the ethics of their profession to promote peace among diverse groups in the country. Governor Sule said this during an interactive session with members of the State Council of the Nigeria Union of Journalists in Lafia. Correspondent Abubakar Abdullahi sent in the report as presented from our studio.
The purpose of the parley between the Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule and members of the pen profession was for the governor to appreciate the media on their contributions to the society through information dissemination, enlightenment, awareness creation and setting of agenda for policymakers. Governor Sule, who condemned the attitude of those causing pockets of crisis in the society, acknowledged the contributions of media in the state and advised journalists to embark on journalism that would promote peace and attract investment.
I urge you also to remember the ethics of your own profession, not to allow either myself or any politician whatsoever to use you for anything negative. I assure you that I will not use you for anything negative, and I hope that you will not allow anyone else to use you for anything negative against anybody.
Speaking on his re-election bid, Governor Sule, who is contesting to occupy his position for the second term, said power comes from God and is not taking the contest as do-or-die affair.
But this power that we keep making noise about is God Almighty that gives power to whom He wishes at the time He wishes, the way He wants it. All that we are trying to do is to do our best. But at the end of the day, the power will come to who God wants that power to go. And it is not what we want or what we wish or what we pray for, it is what God wants, and that's the way it is going to go. So if you believe truly in that, then you'll be very careful about condemning other people or creating more confusion over this.
Governor Sule further said the usual acrimony between successors and predecessors are caused by the habit of sycophants, and he appreciated the fact that since receiving the mantle of leadership from his predecessor, there was no misunderstanding between them. On their part, Nasarawa State Chairman of the NUJ and correspondent chapel in the state, Saliu Alkali and Isaac Ukpoju thanked Governor Sule for the good working relationship between media and his administration. The chairman said the media in the state will continue to set agenda for the government and also be the voice of the people at all times.
I also want to send us the straight for constituency. This is the second time you hear as a governor of the state. I think the first of its kind. We are all stakeholders here. If Nasarawa State is going, nobody can stay. So as much as possible, we'll try to do our best to contribute to our quota towards ensuring that the state is safe for business to thrive and people to live.
The two leaders urged their members to promote unity in their reportage and always be mindful of insightful reports that could cause division.
And to Taraba State now, where retirees in the state under the aegis of Concerned Retirees on Monday stormed the State House of Assembly over alleged nonchalant attitude of the governor to their plight. Led by the Vice Chairman and Secretary of the Association, the pensioners demanded the payment of their 8 years unpaid pension and gratuities.
The aggrieved pensioners said they have been without payment of pension for the past 8 years since the present administration came on board. They said many local government staff retired for over 8 to 10 years without being paid their pensions or gratuities, making life difficult and unbearable. The vice chairman begged the speaker to use his good office to fight for their rights. He said all efforts to make the governor look into their plight proved abortive. While urging them to exercise more patience, the speaker, Joseph Albasu Kunin, vowed to present their case to the governor. He said he will also work with stakeholders to ensure the problem is resolved. The pensioners' protest is the third in the space of 3 months.
And Muslim women in Osun State are training orphans and vulnerable children and also empowering underprivileged women in the state to become successful in life. They are also assisting poor communities in the state by building toilets and sinking boreholes to make life easier for rural dwellers. Hamid Oyegbade filed in this report.
These are members of the Osun State chapter of the Federation of Muslim Women's Association in Nigeria. They are carrying out humanitarian work to help the needy in the society. As part of their services, they have trained many orphans and vulnerable children and empowered underprivileged women to escape poverty. They are also teaching women and children how to pray, read the Holy Quran, live in the way of Allah, and shun social vices. The Commissioner for Human Resources and Capacity Building in Osun State, Latifat Abiodun Giwa, who is a member of Form 1, said the association is helping people irrespective of their faith.
So far, both at the national, state level and the local government level, because we have been able to empower a lot of women. We have been able to teach a lot of men not just the Quranic, but how to live a good life. And we have been able to move a lot of men from poverty level to those who can even feed and even empower.
Sadiat Oladapo, the chairperson of Form 1 in Osun State, said the association is collaborating with other non-governmental organizations in the state to ensure good governance and better life for the people of the state.
Apart from that, Form 1 has been able to work with other NGOs on advocacy as far as election monitoring, health programs, education programs, humanitarian programs, etc.
Other members of Form 1, Maridia Omolara Adeyemo and Babalola Adubi, said the association has been committed to helping the poor in the state.
It has been 30 years of Dawa empowerment, girl, child and women empowerment, care of the orphans and care of the youths generally. So right from the inception, we have been taking care of orphans.
When we discovered that in Egbedi there is no public toilet, what do? We even ask them, what do you need in this community? We visited the Kabiesi and all of them said public toilet.
The women offered special prayer for peace in Osun State and Nigeria. Hamid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Osogbo.
Now, in order to protect the identity of every ethnicity across the country, particularly the Yoruba race, the Are Onibon Balogun of Ibadan land, Adeboyega Taufik, has admonished governments at all levels on the promotion and preservation of cultural artifacts. He gave the charge while speaking to newsmen in Ibadan during the celebration of this year's Abose Day. The Are Onibon of Ibadan called on the government to provide an enabling environment for the protection and preservation of cultural, traditional heritage and values, which offer an insight into the technological processes, economic development and social structure, among other attributes of the people.
I will encourage every nation as it is our own culture, and we need to celebrate our culture. But we can make a lot of money from tourism by celebrating our culture. There are several cultures that we can sell to the world. So I encourage government to invest in tourism, and the only way to invest in tourism is to encourage different segments of the society, different ethnicities, to celebrate their culture, to teach our children about our culture, so that we it doesn't go to waste. We can make money from it. We can develop the economy and the nation from it. We are no family in Ibadan. All of us should come together as one. Nothing should separate us. Not politics, not religion. We should see ourselves as brothers and sisters. We should work together for the development of Ibadan land. It is when Ibadan is happy that we are all happy. We are all brothers and sisters, and we do not fight.
The preservation of craftswork is an important part of upholding a country's identity, origin and culture, as it serves as a mirror that reflects its cultural and historical richness, especially in Africa. It is against this backdrop that Nigeria and Morocco are harnessing handcrafts for the economic benefit of both nations and also strengthening bilateral relations between them. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu reports.
It's the first of its kind as Nigeria and the Kingdom of Morocco showcase their rich culture through an exhibition of handcrafted traditional dresses, bags, shoes, interior decorations, jewelry, artistic carpentry, and kitchen utensil, among others. This is a collaboration between the Sokoto Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture and the Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Services of Morocco to promote culture and trade for the mutual benefit of the economies of both nations.
We benefit the country in terms of internally generated revenue because we are promoting art and crafts. That is the basic of this, so that creativity, people who are doing things with hand, we will borrow from technology from Morocco so that we can enhance. Most of the clothes you see here, 95% are handmade.
In furtherance of the existing relationship between the two countries, the Kingdom of Morocco's ambassador to Nigeria and the Commissioner for Commerce and Industry, Sokoto State, who spoke on behalf of Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, noted that the collaboration is timely as the rich cultural heritage of both regions is necessary for boosting internally generated revenues.
Nigeria and Morocco are also linked by centuries-old history, which means that the two countries share the same culture. This exhibition will allow the Nigerian public to discover the multiple forces of Moroccan crafts and culture.
Sokoto State in particular has been trading with Morocco via third parties. I listened to what the ambassador said, especially in leather goods. A lot of leather from Sokoto red goat, which is the best, as the experts say, in the world, finds its way through Kano to Morocco and to Europe. This kind of gathering should see how we can foster relationship that we can deal directly without the third parties, and also build on the existing mutually beneficial relationships.
This new collaboration, which comes after an earlier successful solar energy and fertilizer production agreement, seeks a closer working relationship between the Sokoto Caliphate and the Kingdom of Morocco in the areas of religion, education, and culture. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, music is described as a combination of vocal or instrumental sounds or tones in very melody, harmony, rhythm and timbre to form structurally complete and emotionally expressive compositions. Now, do you listen to music? And if you do, what type and how impactful have you become after listening? In this special report, Trust TV's Salihul Lawan takes a look at traditional musicians' lives, contribution to the sustenance of peace, and their challenges in modern Nigeria. His report.
These traditional musicians
performed mainly for royalties at an enclosed location called palace in the olden days. But today, in modern Nigeria, they are generally perceived as beggars by those who do not understand the importance of the group in the society in which they reside. However, these traditional musicians said they are aware of their current subordinate status in the society despite all their contribution.
While considered as beggars in some societies, the rivalry between us is sometimes alarming. One sees the other as a threat and moves to do everything possible to hinder the performance of the other group in order to humiliate it. A very skillful musician may suddenly become dull at performance just because someone has played a prank on him by use of charms.
Our job requires talent. Someone has to be very skillful on doing this job. For example, as a leader, sometimes I manipulate the rhythm of the song without prior preparation just to get at what I want. It could be circle of friends, a traditional title holder. Some think we're singing abusive songs. But no, we are not. We are just sending messages.
This realization is sometimes evident in their performance as they often resist discrimination by singing songs to protest their marginalization.
Banga, Jauji,
We are real traditional musicians. Before, we don't sing to anybody but royalties. Modernization and some changes even at the traditional institution made us to become what we are now. Things are not like before. We don't command respect as we used to in the olden days. Besides, most of us are in other businesses, as the occupation is no longer paying like before.
We are
not just singing, we accompany our songs with dancing. Most of us have sonorous voices and very good memory of local histories, which we transmit in oral form at performance. In this era, we know our limitations, and that's why we restricted ourselves to the opportunity available.
As significant as they are in the society, yet no specific institutionalized arrangement is made by the government to secure the future for them. From Yola, Salis Lawan, Trust TV News.
You're watching Trust TV News Hour. The news continues shortly after this break. Please stay with us.
That's good.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Hour. Now, over 3 billion naira worth of e-naira has been minted since the Central Bank of Nigeria launched the digital currency a year ago. The platform has also recorded over 700,000 transactions, amounting to about 8 billion naira within the period. Delivering his keynote address at the e-naira one-year anniversary held in Lagos, the governor of the Apex Bank, Godwin Emefiele, added that 33 banks have fully integrated, over 3,305 merchants registered, and 919,000 customers onboarded. To underscore the overwhelming interest and encouraging response from Nigerians and other parties across the world, the CBN governor said the e-naira website attracts an average of 2.5 million daily visits. The Deputy Governor, Economic Policy, CBN, Kingsley Obiora, who chaired the Technical Working Committee of the e-naira, added that the platform has provided access to financial services to underserved and unbanked segments of the population.
We're proud today to be saying that yes, we are celebrating 1 year of our digital currency in Nigeria because undoubtedly Nigeria remains the first country in Africa to introduce its digital currency, remains the second in the world, and we're happy that as we speak today, some of the fears that some had, even which we had at the time of introducing our digital currency, which was predominantly centered around the risks of fraud and all that, we have not witnessed any. It is the bank's hope that the e-naira will drive the digital economy agenda and foster a more prosperous Nigeria.
Through offline payment channels like agent networks, USSD, wearables, cards, and near-field communication technology, the e-naira provides access to financial services to underserved and unbanked segments of the population.
Now let's join Chiamaka Nwafo for more business news.
President of the African Development Bank, AFDB, Akinwumi Adesina, says Nigeria occupies the 103rd position among 121 countries said to be facing hunger crisis. He stated this at the launch of the special agro-industrial processing zones in Nigeria in Abuja. Although he said Africa faces huge challenges in meeting its food needs with 283 million people that go hungry annually. He, however, noted that Africa has massive agricultural potential with 65% of the uncultivated arable land left to feed over 9 billion people in the world by 2050 being in Africa. In stock, the Nigerian equity market on Tuesday closed bullish as the all-share index grew further by 0.73% to settle at 44,788.14 points from the previous close of 44,461.63 points. Investors gained 178 billion as the market capitalization soared by 0.74% to close at 24.395 trillion naira. The market broke close negative as 9 equities appreciated in their share prices against 19 equities that declined. 159 million units of shares were traded in 3,385 deals valued at 2.7 billion naira. And away in India, competitions watchdog has imposed a fine of 9.36 billion rupees, an equivalent of $113.4 billion on Google parent company Alphabet. The country's Competition Commission accused Google of abusing the dominant role of the Google Play Store by forcing app developers there to use Google's payment system for app purchases and purchases within apps. The Competition Commission also ordered the company to allow app developers to use any payment system. The Commission had earlier fined Alphabet the equivalent of $164 million for allegedly abusing the dominant role of its Android operating system to boost its main business of online searches. Google and other Silicon Valley firms are vying for market share in India, soon to be officially the world's most populous country. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafo.
President Muhammadu Buhari says flooding in different parts of the country and encroaching desertification and drought in northern Nigeria represents the negative fallout of climate change in Nigeria. The Nigerian president made the comments on Tuesday during an audience with former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon on the sidelines of the First World Bio Summit 2022 in Seoul, South Korea. The Nigerian leader expressed delight with the cooperation existing between his country and the Republic of Korea, especially in the area of energy supply, citing gas exports to the Asian country. Describing education as a key investment in addressing unemployment and underdevelopment, the president also noted that health challenges must be equally addressed. The former Secretary General is the chair of Ban Ki-moon Foundation for Better Future and strong advocate for climate change remediation. He expressed sympathy with President Muhammadu Buhari over the flooding while calling for more investments to improve education, avert environmental degradation and preventive diseases in order to meet the core sustainable development goals. Now for a look at the foreign scene, where delegates of the Ethiopian government and rival Tigray forces have started peace talks in Pretoria, marking the first formal meeting between the two warring sides after nearly 2 years of bloody conflict. Spokesman for President Cyril Ramaphosa, Vincent Magwenya, said the peace talks, which have been convened to find a peaceful and sustainable solution to the devastating conflict in the Tigray region, started on Tuesday, October 25th, and will end on the 30th of October. Magwenya said South Africa is ready to serve as a host and provide assistance to the peace talks, adding that the country hoped the talks would lead to a lasting peace for the people of Ethiopia. The talks are being mediated by an African Union team led by Nigeria's former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, supported by Kenya's former leader, Uhuru Kenyatta, and South Africa's ex-vice president, Phumzile Mlambo Ngcuka. And Britain's new Prime Minister Rishi Sunak pledged on Tuesday to restore trust in UK politics and fix the mistakes made under his predecessor Liz Truss in his first speech from Downing Street after he was appointed Prime Minister by King Charles III. Sunak, the UK's third leader this year, formally took power in an audience with King Charles III, who invited him to form a government in a meeting at Buckingham Palace. The 42-year-old Hindu is Britain's first Prime Minister of colour and the youngest in more than 2 centuries. Sunak became the ruling Conservatives' new leader on Monday after rival contender Penny Mordaunt failed to secure enough nominations from Tory MPs and Boris Johnson dramatically aborted a comeback bid.
And your Prime Minister, in part, to fix them. And that work begins immediately. I will place economic stability and confidence at the heart of this government's agenda. This will mean difficult decisions to come. But you saw me during COVID doing everything I could to protect people and businesses with schemes like furlough. There are always limits, more so now than ever. But I promise you this, I will bring that same compassion to the challenges we face today.
And in sports, Chelsea beat Red Bull Salzburg 2-1 in the final group stage of the Champions League in an entertaining game which went the way of the Blues thanks to superb goals either side of half-time from Mateo Kovacic and Kai Havertz. And that means that Chelsea are through to the knockout stages of the Champions League yet again. In the other game played earlier, Sevilla beat 10-man Copenhagen 3-0. And the win means Sevilla stay in contention for the last 16 spot, but need Manchester City to beat Borussia Dortmund later on. Now let's join Mardia Umar for more sports news.
Serena Williams has said she has not retired from tennis and that the chances of returning are very high after she previously indicated that she would step away from the sport after last month's US Open. Williams, who's 41 years old, said she was evolving away from tennis in an essay in August, and while she did not confirm the US Open as her farewell event, she was given lavish tributes before each match in New York and waved an emotional goodbye after losing in the third round. The 23-time Grand Slam champion, who took the tennis world by storm as a teenager and is considered by many as the greatest of all time, said not preparing for a tournament after the US Open did not feel natural to her. And away from tennis, a Russian court has rejected an appeal by US basketball star Brittany Griner against her traumatic 9-year jail term for drug charges. The court near Moscow upheld the sentence, with the state prosecutor calling it fair. The double Olympic winner apologized for her honest mistake in her appeal hearing via video link, saying it had been very stressful. Griner, who's 31 years old, was convicted in August of smuggling and possessing cannabis oil. Griner, who is considered one of the world's top players, was detained in February at an airport near Moscow when vape cartridges containing cannabis oil were found in her luggage. She had come to Russia to play club basketball during the US off-season. And Manchester United forward Cristiano Ronaldo has returned to group training after being ordered to train alone last week by manager Erik ten Hag. Ronaldo refused to come on as a substitute against Tottenham last Wednesday and was subsequently dropped for Saturday's 1-1 draw at Chelsea. Ten Hag later said there had to be consequences for his actions. The Portuguese's presence in training suggests he is in contention to play in Thursday's Europa League Group E home game against Moldovan club Sheriff Tiraspol. Defender Harry Maguire and midfielder Donny van de Beek also trained on Tuesday after recent injury problems. And that is a sports update. I am Martia Umar.
And that wraps up Trans TV News Hour for tonight. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Have a lovely evening.